So next we have item 3A. It's approval of City Yards EIR addendum, Halloway Diddywill change order, and SCD license agreement and contract modification. And Councilmember Parra pulled this.
Yeah, so you can't turn, let's see if I can try, shoot.
Now, if you go back to discussion mode.
Okay, let's try, I did try this once.
No.
Oh, I'm on, although it's not letting him.
Are you on? It sounds like you're on.
Yeah, I'm on now.
Oh, good, but it's not green. That's so weird. Anyway, okay, go ahead. Sorry,
Who's gonna,
you're up?
yeah, no, I was just waiting to see who was gonna come up and.
Oh, okay.
Good evening, Rick Valtier, Public Works Director. Did you want a staff report or did you want us to respond to questions?
Well, I do want a staff report because I wanted a little bit better understanding of the
I'm going to
project.
call Chris Celsi, our RRR manager.
Good evening, council members. My name is Chris Celsi. I'm with RRR, Resource Recovery and Recycling for City of Santa Monica. Denise, do we have a, there it is. So I'll just give you a little bit of background on what this 3A is about. And back in 19, so from 1993 to 2019, Allen Company was our recycling center, and it was the Santa Monica Recycling Center, and Allen Company was our not a hauler, but our processor and our sorter. So basically, our drivers would pick up the material from the recycling material that you see on the curbside, and they would bring it to the recycling center, which was on our city yards, which is at 2411 Delaware Street. So if I can. So in 1993, like I said, Allen Company was processed curbside recycled materials, and that happened until 2019. In 2019, the construction for the city yards modernization started, and Allen Company left or moved out, and the recycling center closed. In 2019 to 2021, we moved the recycling tip and transfer area from that area, and I'll show some slides that will show you where it was and where it's going to be. And then it went to the area south of the fire training center. And so that we tipped it there, and then SCD came in and they loaded it up and they took it to the other processing facilities, which is American Reclamation, Potential Industries in Wilmington, and also the county center in Puente Hills. So in 2021, we had to move again, and because they were starting the construction on the expansion of the fire training center, so we took it to Culver City because we didn't have another facility to take it to. So, and then right now, this is what we're asking, is that we want to bring it back to the Hanson lot, which was the plan all along, and so that's where we're at right now. So, and if I can just show you. This is where the facility was prior to 2019, and it's the orange shaded area. That area there was where Allen Company was, and our drivers would take the material. There was also a buyback center there. And that was from 1993 to 2019. And then in 2019, the blue shaded area is where we moved our tip and transfer area, so that our drivers took all the curbside recycling to that area right there. And then SCD came in and they would move it from that area to the processors that we had contracts with. And then this is the proposed area that we plan to take it to. That area right there is the Hanson lot, and it's also part of the SCD lot. You can see that little trapezoid that's in the southernmost part, and that is owned by SCD, and we were going to use it in conjunction with each other. And on their site, they were planning to, we plan to tip and load and transfer out. And then on our site, which is the Hanson lot, we are planning to maneuver, queue our trucks, and also store our material or store our equipment there. This is just kind of an overall look of what the city yards modernization plan looks like. So where we're at is where the purple is down below, down near the mobile home park. And The big purple is where our operations will be, and then the little sliver of purple next to the Gundara Park, that's where our container maintenance would be located. And again, this is just kind of an overview of how the activities will be happening along that area, in that area of Hanson Lot and SCD's property. And that's what I have right now.
Thank you.
Sure.
Can you please go back to one of the maps, the one that, if you go back, I think that's a good one. You can go back to that one.
Okay, this one?
That pretty much, we can talk about this one.
Okay.
So walk me through the operation. So let's say once you were up and going, because I understand that this is going to be where the tipping is, the sorting, the idling, the truck. So which way are the trucks going to come in? So walk me through a truck coming in.
Okay, do you see the road that is on the south? You can see this little the road, okay? The trucks will enter from Michigan, and that's 24th and Delaware right there on the corner. So they'll come in that way, head east. They take a right on Frank Street, and they weigh. So I don't know if I can get it any closer, but, I wish I had a pointer or a laser. But that area, they take a right, so they're heading south on Frank Street, and then they weigh, and then they'll cross the street or cross Frank Street at the end there, and they'll dump and tip their material in there, and then. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. So they're tipping where that arrow's at?
No, they'll be tipping. You mean further south?
Further south, so right by the freeway.
Yes.
Okay, and then right where that freeway is, directly adjacent or in front of it, if you will, those buildings, are those the mobile trailers?
To the east of it, yes.
Okay.
Yes. And then there's between that area and the mobile trailers, there's a 14-foot high noise attenuation basic block wall that SCD installed probably 7 years ago? 8 or 8 years ago.
Oh, okay, because the note said it was 12 feet. It said it was 12 feet with the.
That's a 14-foot fence. The one we plan to install on just north of that. So if you look at the blue line that bisects the two properties.
Okay.
Where the purple part ends next to the mobile home park, that fence will continue going north.
Oh, okay.
And that will be 12 foot.
That'll be the 12-foot fence. Okay. And then that's also will have an additional foliage.
It'll have
trees.
Trees and other noise attenuating items.
Okay. And then additionally, I read that you anticipate 10 to 12 trucks coming through there a day.
Yeah, what we have 4 residential trucks that do about 2 loads. We have 5 or 4 commercial trucks that do 1 load a day, the front load trucks. And so we just kind of estimated that 8 and 5 is 13. So we figured 15, I think we said 15 to 20
So at any time, would there be any trucks sitting, idling, waiting their turn?
Well, what would most likely would happen is that as we get enough material on the deck, and the deck is the tipping zone, then a truck would pull up and they'd have to back up. And usually the way it works, it takes about 15 minutes, and they usually don't idle at that time. But there'll be times when they will idle, but they usually don't idle because it's just a waste of fuel. Right. And that's more for SCD to handle. But most of the time, the guys usually shut it down, and they're usually not idling more than 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm. So as you can see, I mean, so I live in this area, and I'm, and I read the entire EIR report, and it, it indicated that, no impact to let's see, this is, it spoke about glare, light, shadows, construction, talked about the 12-foot sound wall. It didn't elaborate significantly about noise. It did, it talked about that 12-foot wall and landscape acting as a buffer to mitigate noise, but there wasn't a lot. And it did talk about, it did show some of the potential levels of noise, but it didn't talk a whole lot about noise and potential noise pollution.
Okay.
And as someone that lives behind the train, then they put up a big wall that's supposed to buffer noise. It doesn't buffer noise, and so what I'm concerned about is that clearly people live right there. Like, you see their houses, it's right there.
Correct.
And so, what happens, what happens when there is a lot of noise? And what are we going to do if that wall and the actions and mitigation efforts that we put into place are not doing enough?
Well, we did conduct a noise a noise assessment, and I think Rachel, our consultant, can speak more to the noise.
Okay.
But we did conduct 2 tests to make sure that when we did operations in both the Hanson lot, which is our property, and SCD's property, that it wouldn't exceed any of those noise levels.
And why did we choose right there? Like, why couldn't we have pushed it back into our property and not away from those residents?
There just isn't any room there. I mean, we just run out of room.
Okay.
Would you like to hear any more about the noise?
I would, because I'm extremely concerned about this operation abutting up against where people live.
Thank you.
Hi there.
My name is Rachel Strulia, and I represent Dudek, the environmental consulting firm Dudek, and we prepared the original City Yards EIR that was approved in 2019, and then we were engaged by RRR to assist the city with the addendum for this project. And so what we did on noise, because noise is an issue, and we knew that that would be one of the 2 primary issues, I think, of concern, being so proximate to the mobile home park. We did a simulation on June 10th at the SCD property, and we specifically looked at trash dumping, piling, and loading on just the SCD lot. Okay, and we had the city simulated, brought trucks in, did the dumping of the materials, and we took noise measurements. And we took noise measurements both on the SCD lot and a concurrent or simultaneous noise measurement in the mobile home park. So we could understand exactly what the noise level was on site at the same time in the mobile home park, given that that's the sensitive receptor. We came back and we also did another simulation, and we did it on the Hanson lot, okay? And we did truck driving, dirt dumping, and dirt loading on the Hanson lot. And we did the same thing. We did the site measurement, and then we did a concurrent measurement in the mobile home park. And then we looked at 2 different scenarios of whether there would be tip and transfer at SCD, and then truck queuing, dirt dumping, and dirt loading at Hanson. And then we kind of looked at what I would call maybe a worst case scenario, which is we did tip and transfer, truck queuing, dirt dumping, and dirt loading all at the Hanson lot, right? And what we learned was that 14-foot wall that's at the east side of the SCD lot is extremely effective at mitigating noise, to the point where the noise measurements, and if you want to read more in depth about noise, you really want to look at the noise report in the back of the addendum.
I was
There's
looking
a
at
noise
that.
memo, okay?
I didn't understand it. I was looking at it.
But what that will tell you is that the difference in the noise measurements on site and at the mobile home park, the concurrent noise measurements, had a decibel difference of 9 to 14 decibels. And that's pretty significant. So we knew in order, if the activities are going to happen on the Hanson lot, it is critical to have a noise wall, a sound wall. And that's why the city is proposing to build the 12-foot wall that will extend from the 14-foot SCD wall all the way to the northeast corner there, so that it will attenuate noise to the mobile home park. And that is a critical piece of the project. So I certainly understand your concern. It is very close to a sensitive receptor to the mobile home park, but the noise wall should have a very effective mitigating effect on the noise levels from the site.
I appreciate that explanation, and I didn't realize the amount of testing that was conducted. So I appreciate that was being done. I think I'm done with my questions, but
Yes, so Mayor Pro Tem McCowen and then Councilmember Brock.
Oh, and I just wanted to add one detail. We did not actually measure or model the noise wall, okay? Because that gets kind of complicated in noise analyses. So we just actually measured sound on site and at the mobile home park. We did not, model a proposed wall. So these are conservative measurements. So I wanted to just add that point as well. So I'm happy to take any additional questions you might have.
Yes, there are more additional, so don't go anywhere.
Okay.
I don't know if this is for you or staff, but there wasn't anything in there. Oh, there I am. On sort of the impact of the odor. And I'm just curious if that was considered, because I know where the current tipping portion is. It obviously attracts a lot of seagulls. I know you guys have the hawks or whatever in the air for that. So presumably they'll help with that over that site, which raises other concerns as we get a little more residential. But those birds are pretty, yeah, I know, I did find a small dog skull in my yard recently. I'm just, the smell is pretty bad when you're over there and they're tipping. Did any sort of thought go into how that odor will sort of enter the residential area?
Yeah, we did look at that. What I understand, and I would turn to the city staff to elaborate, but what I understand is that the materials cannot be wet. And when they're wet, that really enhances the odor, if it enhances the right word.
What do you mean the materials can't be wet?
Can't be wet to have value as recyclables in
Right.
terms of being able to be sold on the market. And so, for example, we talked about organics, right? Could we collect organics at the site? And the answer is no, because the materials can't be wet. So that's why in an ideal world, you really want to have this operation covered. And so I don't know what the plan is if it's raining, but you don't want to have recyclable materials get wet. And so I'm answering sort of a different question here, but the point is that wet materials tend to smell more. And so the idea here is to transfer the materials quickly. I also understand from Mr. Celsi that they're not going to sit on the site for any length of time. Do you have the actual hours that they would be on the site?
Yeah, we're required to remove it within 24 hours. So we're required, as soon as it gets on the ground, Mike's usually, or SCD is usually pretty good about putting it in a truck, getting ready to take it away. It's got to be cleaned every day. The floor, if you've ever gone out to the transfer station, it gets cleaned every day.
Yeah, I guess I've never seen it sort of at the end of the day when it's getting cleaned. I've only seen it sort of in between drop-offs.
Yeah, if you come in about
and
4 o'clock, it's pretty, 4 o'clock, Mike? Yeah, 4 o'clock is usually when it's clear. And,
Okay.
the materials in it. And just to let you know that recycling materials shouldn't, not technically, but theoretically shouldn't smell. And we know it does, but it's
Yes.
not organic material and it's not putrescible, the regular garbage. And we did that on purpose because we wanted to keep that, that sort of issue to a minimum.
Okay, and then this, from 8 weeks from council approval is when this will start. Is that correct?
No, that's when we wanted it completed. We wanted it done by the end of the summer.
Oh, right, and so the transfer, would
Yes.
would be completed
Yes.
8 weeks from now.
Yes.
And so when will the trees be installed? And are you installing full-size trees, or are these kind of?
I don't know when we're installing trees.
Sorry for all the questions.
That's quite all right.
Hello, Council. I'm Sebastian with Architecture Services. So the plan is currently on that east side, where the sound wall, the new 12-foot sound wall is going to go. We're going to be planting larger size. They are mature, but they're not like,
Right.
they're 24-inch boxes. And those will go in at the end, the tail end, so at the end of the 8-week period. And that's just because there's
And
going
what
to be
kind?
Right now, there's 2 species that we're looking at. Mesquites, Chilean mesquites, or Tipuana tipus. They're the ones with the yellow flowers.
Okay.
So they both have broad canopies that would assist in, attracting birds and also, catching any sort of debris that would leave the site. So.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Councilmember Brock? Just talk. I think it may work anyway.
Yes, my voice is pretty loud. Hey, there is a microphone. Look at that. It magically came on. So I have a couple of questions. I heard about the sound wall. Is there anything additional to that sound wall that could be done to enhance the potential sound wall to make sure it mitigates sound and noise to the residents directly adjacent? In other words, are we stopping somewhere where we could add more? That's my first question.
So yeah, we've looked at adding additional trees if necessary along that purple, kind of the southern edge of the city yards. That's a possibility where we could probably plant some trees. But as the trees mature, obviously they'll get bigger and become more effective, you know.
I'm talking even about wherever the sound lady was. She left. Oh, there she is. Sorry. Sebastian hid you. So my question more is that wall the maximum best alternative at that site? Because I know you weren't able to test with the wall there.
Right.
So my question first for you, is there something that could be done better to enhance protection for the neighbors? And secondly, for Rick and staff, if it doesn't work as well as it should, is Public Works prepared to go back and add to that wall?
Right. So I guess I could answer your first question, which is, in an ideal world, it would be in an enclosed building. But that is more expensive, and there are site constraints here. So we have about a 40,000 square foot site that is pretty tight to do everything that is being proposed as is. So right now it looks like, you know, the best option for the cost and the mitigating effects is a noise wall.
And I guess I'll go back to whoever wants to answer that. Are we doing the maximum with that noise wall we can, or could the noise wall be enhanced even further? For any of the three of you.
Yeah, so the sound attenuating wall that we're looking at is basically an off-the-shelf solution. And we looked at that just from a cost perspective, as well as, you know, everything is hard to get these days. So if we had to do a custom solution, you're looking at, you know, months out, in which time we're spending, you know, extra money to go to Culver City with our recyclables, right? So
Can the off-the-wall solution be modified if necessary, or would it have to be tossed?
I mean, anything can be done, right, with enough money. But there are different. This is one of the highest models, tallest models that they have. The problem when you go even taller is the foundations get even bigger, so you're pinching the site even more, right? So again, like Rachel said, there are other options, right, but you have to weigh the cost benefit.
I just think that we don't want to pinch the ears and noses of the people in the trailer park directly adjacent to this. So my concerns are, A, the wall and making sure that we can modify if necessary, if there's a problem. And secondly, so I really want to hear that pledge that, yes, we'll go back and we'll do anything we can to make sure the residents that are directly adjacent, who are long suffering in that area as it is, have some protection. And secondly, someone mentioned odor and making sure that the deposits stay dry. And I can imagine during the winter, where we have those 10 days of actual rain in the city, 2, that we are concerned with that. Do we have a way to cover that so rain doesn't get on it? Or do we stop it for those days and freeze while it's raining? What do we do to make sure so what I'm concerned with and what I'm hearing is from residents in that area is they're concerned about mitigating noise and, as someone else said, mitigating the odor from living next to, regardless of what you want to call it, the trash dump of that area. How do we solve that and still do what we need to do as a city? But I want to make sure we're very concerned about residents.
So as Rachel had mentioned earlier, when we did the simulations of the operations at this location, the sound readings that we got did not calculate the sound attenuation that that future wall would create. So right now we're already well below the thresholds in the municipal code with the noise that's generated by the operation. Once we add the wall, the sound that this operation produces at the mobile home park is anticipated to be reduced even more by 9 to 14 decibels based on the current wall that's located at the SCD site. Certainly if we find that the noise could be attenuated even further, we can certainly look at options to enhance the sound wall. I don't know if we could add more sound blankets, because these are blankets, right?
More batting.
So we could add more batting to the future wall if that's necessary. So there's options that we can consider, and in the future, as revenues improve and increase, we could look at other custom-made walls if necessary.
And smell?
And then for smell, as Chris was mentioning, we don't leave the recyclables on the floor. At the end of the day, the floor is cleared. The trucks of SCD are constantly picking up. Once we accumulate recyclable materials on the deck, those get picked up by is it an 18-wheeler? So it goes on throughout the day that the material is being picked up, and at the end of each day, by 4 o'clock, the deck is cleared. So the likelihood of the occasional rain event here in Southern California getting that material wet, it will still be picked up by the trucks on a regular basis throughout the day.
Councilmember De La Torre.
Just start talking.
Okay, testing. Yeah, okay, here we go.
Isn't that weird?
So I appreciate all the questions from my colleagues on this matter. I had the opportunity to visit Southern California Disposal, and Mike is here, who's been a long-term partner in our city. As you all know, Sam, who was the owner, passed away. We adjourned our one of our meetings a while back in his honor, in his memory. And I'm just from my experience in working with SCD and you know, and knowing about this project, I also talked to some of the residents in the Mountain View Trailer Park. Many of those trailers are also not the old trailers, and you can't see from here, but I don't know how many of them are more of the modern trailers. There's you know, those trailers have better windows, for example, and you know, air conditioning, and so it's not the
Back wall is all new, I think.
it looks like it. Yeah, I see.
The back walls, where those are new. So.
Okay, so that's an improvement. You know, what I've seen in that part of the city. I live a block away. So the concerns raised, I think, are duly noted, but I think that also we have a responsible operator, someone that I've seen to be responsive to these needs. You know, the sound wall being built, for example, they paid for that, right? The city didn't pay for that? It was.
No, that was by SCD, correct?
SCD paid for that.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, that's one example, you know, of this operator being responsible and trying to be responsive to the needs of the residents. And I hope that we can continue to look at some of the issues that were raised today. One resident at the trailer park talked a little bit said that the sound wall was there, but you know, maybe there can be some modifications to make it more effective, and also to have some type of screen. Maybe there's a way to some type of screen on top of that wall. I don't even know it's possible, but something to collect some of the dust, you know, and maybe that even can deal with some of the you know, well, the particulate matter and so forth that emanates from that. But in any case, I just wanted to say that this project's been going on for a long time. I understand that the fire department, the training facility, was a very important need, you know, that has been accomplished, and also the maintenance, the repair. What is it? It's the maintenance, fleet maintenance.
Maintenance
building, yeah, which I think we also toured one time. So it's very state-of-the-art facility. This modernization plan is moving forward, and I think, you know, if there's anything that we can mitigate, we should, because the residents there deserve that. But I'm confident that we will continue to move forward, looking for ways to make improvements, you know, with what you're asking, what staff's recommending today, and also with the knowledge of Southern California Disposal's positive record in terms of being responsive to the needs of the residents. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Councilmember De La Torre. Councilmember Negrete.
My question was, I was waiting for it to magically turn on. Oh, I did. You mentioned, Councilmember De La Torre briefly mentioned the windows, and I was just going to ask if you guys can just put in double pane windows or soundproofed windows for those neighbors as well, but it looks like they already have. And then my second question is, as somebody who does outdoor events and helps businesses mitigate sound, there's, maybe you've already looked into the curved sound half shells that go, they're not as attractive looking, although they can be painted to be less, I don't know, whatever, commercial looking. A lot of high-end businesses use them when they have outdoor sound and they've got sound ordinances issues, and it helps entrap the sound in a nice way, and it's much quicker than waiting for a tree to grow as well, because it'll also collect the dust. Is that something you guys are looking into? It's much less expensive because people use them all the time for long-term temporary use.
You may need to talk to them.
So another thing that I forgot to mention is this, on that eastern edge, it's also the landfill. So, you know, we have constraints on what kind of foundations we can use. And as you guys know, we don't get a lot of rain, but we get a lot of wind. So that's basically a big sale, but that is something that we can look into further. We looked at that early on, but our engineers basically were really concerned about,
Tipping.
Tipping, exactly. So
There's stuff for that. Well, maybe we'll talk to you separately.
yeah, for sure.
Okay.
And we've also looked at, just to underscore, the tensile fabric structure like we used at
Right.
the training facility to shelter the apparatus is another thing we could look at if necessary too.
Thank you.
So you've made everybody happy. We now have a sound expert.
Yes.
Councilmember Parr, are you satisfied? Would you like to make a motion?
Yes.
So you're moving item,
Item 3A.
second?
Second.
So moved by Parr, seconded by Brock. May we have a roll call vote, please?
No, we can't vote.
Oh, no. And there's nothing I can do to help you, right? I'm not
I
seeing.
can do it when you guys are done, but it's coming up, doesn't it have the first? Okay, Parr and Brock. Okay, Councilmember De La Torre.
Yes.
Councilmember Brock.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem McCowen.
Yes.
Councilmember Negrete.
Yes.
Councilmember Davis.
Yes.
Councilmember Parra.
Yes.
And Mayor Himmelrich.
Yes, so that passes 7-0. And now